Last quarter, the demand spiked, so you did the obvious thing. You hired 3 freelancers to take the overflow off your in-house producer, and the first 2 weeks were rough. The work came back off-brand, the tone was wrong, and your producer spent more time fixing and re-explaining than they would have spent doing it themselves. So you quietly concluded freelancers do not work for you. Hi, I'm Asher, and you're listening to Content is Currency. Today we are talking about the freelance bench and the uncomfortable truth that the work was not bad because the people were bad. It was bad because you hired them cold. By the end of this episode, you will know how to build a bench that arrives warm and on brand from day one. Let's go. Here is what cold actually costs you. Every new freelancer starts from zero. They do not know your brand pack. They have not passed your voice gate. They do not know your tools or your process or the 3 things your audience is sick of hearing. So before a single asset ships, somebody has to teach all of it. That somebody is your in-house producer, the one person you brought the freelancer in to protect. You wanted to add capacity, and instead you added an onboarding tax paid in your most valuable person's hours every single time you scale. And it does not get paid once, it gets paid again with the next freelancer and the next. The first 2 rounds are always slow and always off-brand. So you decide freelancers do not work, when what really happened is they never had a chance to. Think about a football squad on a Saturday. A manager who goes a man down at halftime does not run into the street and recruit a stranger to come on. He turns to a bench of players he already trains all week. They know the formation, they know the calls, they have worn the shirt in training 100 times. They come on warm, and the game barely skips a beat. The substitute is not faster because he is more talented. He is faster because he is already inside the system. Your freelancers are the bench. The work you keep redoing is the stranger from the street. The asset was never the raw talent. It was the warmth. So why does scaling on freelancers fail specifically almost every time? Because we treat each hire as a fresh search instead of a roster we already trust. The brief goes out, applications come in, you pick someone plausible, and you start the entire relationship from a standing stop. Nobody is being lazy. Each step feels efficient in the moment because the alternative, keeping a pool warm when you have no work for them this week, feels like paying for nothing. So you let the bench go cold, and next quarter you start cold again. The producer is not the problem, and the freelancer is not the problem. The problem is a hiring habit that throws away the relationship every time the spike ends and rebuilds it from scratch when the next one starts. The fix is to stop hiring cold and start deploying warm. I call it the warm bench, and it runs in 3 lanes. Lane 1, the vetted roster. A small pool who have already passed the brand pack from episode 15 and the voice gate from episode 14. So you hire from people you trust, not from a fresh search. Lane 2, the onboarding pack. The brand pack plus the voice gate plus a starter brief. Packaged so a warm freelancer plugs in at full speed on day 1 instead of week 3. Lane 3, the retention loop. Steady small work and feedback that keeps the bench warm so it never goes cold. This is the external extension of the bench you built in-house, the same 4-role stack, now reaching past your own walls. Let me walk each one. Lane 1, the vetted roster. The reason scaling hurts is that you search for a person every time you need one. So instead, you build a small standing pool of 3 to 5 freelancers who have already cleared your bar. They have read the brand pack. They have passed the voice gate. They have shipped one real piece you were happy with. That work is done once, upfront, when nobody is under pressure. Then when the spike comes, you are not auditioning strangers against a deadline. You are messaging a name you already trust and saying, "Are you free this week?" The roster does not replace your in-house producer. It extends their reach, so the overflow lands on someone vetted instead of someone random, and your producer stops being the only person who can be trusted with the brand. Lane 2, the onboarding pack, and this is what makes warm. A vetted freelancer still arrives slow if every job starts with a scramble for context, so you package it once. The brand pack from episode 15, the voice gate from episode 14, the tools, the do not say list, and a tight starter brief for the specific job. One link, everything inside it. Now, when you bring a roster member on, they are not booking time with your producer to ask what the brand sounds like. They open the pack and start. The thing that used to take until week 3, knowing how you talk and what you want, is handed to them on day 1. The pack turns trust into speed because the freelancer is not waiting on a person to unlock the context. The context is already sitting there, ready. Lane 3, the retention loop. A bench you only call in a crisis goes cold between crises, and a cold bench is just a list of strangers you used to know. So you keep it warm on purpose. You give each roster member a small, steady piece of work, even in the quiet weeks, and you give them real feedback when they ship, so they stay current on how the brand is moving. A warm bench you maintain is far cheaper than revetting a cold one every quarter, because you are paying a little to keep the relationship alive instead of paying a lot to rebuild it from zero each time. The freelancers stay fluent. Your producer keeps a crew they actually trust, and the next spike is a phone call, not a fire. Here is your week. Monday, list every freelancer you have ever used and mark the ones who were genuinely worth rehiring. Tuesday, assemble the onboarding pack, the brand pack, and the voice gate and a starter brief into one link anyone can open. Wednesday, put 3 to 5 of those vetted names onto a warm roster and tell them they are on it. Thursday, give one of them a small paid test brief, real work, so the relationship is live and not theoretical. Friday, set a retention cadence, a small recurring brief that keeps the bench warm through the quiet week. Build the squad before you need them, and the spike stops being a panic. I'm Asher. This was Content is Currency from Table 8. We'll see you next episode.